advised that everything in my video is purely for entertainment purposes. These are purely my thoughts and opinions and are subjective. I must advise you to please do your own research. All media used was found on the public domain and are fair use and fair dealings. There is a comical element to everything I say. Do not take it personally.
YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So I have a really funny video for you guys today, and basically the British media are not taking this shut out, lying down. So there's been a direct response from the Daily Mail, and it's by Sarah Vine, who writes for the Daily Mail, and they've basically told Meghan and Harry that they're not that relevant, they're not as important as what they think they are, they're really not bothered. And I just wanted to share this article with you guys. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So she starts off with, "Dear Meghan and Harry, don't worry about us because we're not really worried about you." And it's true, there's so much more important things to think about nowadays. Meghan and Harry really aren't that important. First of all, how are you both? I know no one ever asks, so I thought it best just to check. After all, it must be so hard for you, stuck in LA in rented accommodation with only Ellen DeGeneres and Beyonce for company. Oh. We all know how stressful moving house can be, and getting on the property ladder is never easy for a young couple like you. All those $1 million mansions with their terrible Californian decor to trapeze around, not to mention all those tiresome non-disclosure agreements you to organise. Can't have the poor guy shooting his mouth off. Plus the constant worry that one of those clumsy British taxpayer-funded bodyguards might scold himself on your take-out coffee while protecting baby Archwell from maudlin fans. I feel your pain. Still, it must be so much better than being holed up in that dingy little cottage in Windsor, which all those pesky British taxi drivers and cleaners and nurses paid millions to have done up, next door to the aged relative who won't even let you use the title she gave you, let alone give you permission to borrow Elton's jet. By the way, it was her birthday yesterday, 94, quite an age for a woman, maybe not something one necessarily wants to draw too much attention to. Perhaps that's why, in your characteristically selfish manner, you decided to draw the spotlight back on yourselves. You're right, of course, about the papers. It is unacceptable for millions of readers to want to know what's going on in your lives. I mean, honestly, just because they pay for your security, stumped up tens of thousands of millions for your wedding, and bunged you a couple more to do up Froggers, does not give them the right, does it? But enough about you for now. I suppose you may be wondering how we're all doing back in the Blighty, which would be so typically kind and generous of you, as it's well known fact that you rarely think of yourselves these days. What with all the charity work, of course those elephants you're so connected with, well, you know, it's a bit up and down, if I'm honest. Not sure if you're aware, although, Harry, I think you touched on it the other day in one of your insightful observations, but we've had a bit of a pandemic thing going on. Quite serious, really. I hate to be a downer, but rather a lot of people have been, and it's not over. So clever old you for distancing yourselves about 5,500 miles away behind high gates. As you can imagine, this nasty old virus is taking quite a toll on the morale of the nation, not to mention the economy. And not everyone has wealthy relatives with deep pockets who can support them at times of financial hardship. Speaking of which, Harry, your father and brother, not to mention your grandparents, have been doing a sterling job of keeping the country's pecker up. William and Kate even did a Zoom interview on the television the other day. Strange, really, since neither of them had anything to promote. Anyway, there I must leave you. Do stay safe during these difficult times, and whatever you do, don't worry about the people back home, because, to be honest, we're certainly not worried about you. I think that couldn't be a more of a direct and amazing clapback at Megxie and Harry. This article has been shared 450 times and there are over 2,200 comments. I haven't had a look at the comments. Let's have a little look at what has been going on. Someone wrote, "Brilliantly written, Sarah." Someone else wrote, "Listen, let this be the final word on this, as there appears to be a lot of people on here who think we should not be having a pop at Mr. and Mrs. Markle. He is a Brit. She failed to successfully get British citizenship. We have paid for his and her lifestyles, including their marriage. Therefore, we are allowed to say anything in the form of humour we wish. Just so happens to be British satire. Enough said. Someone else wrote, they need to be made to face up to their responsibilities, sharpish, because they are undermining the monarchy with their truly dreadful behaviour, and they can start by settling outstanding debts. Harry and Meghan, pay up what you owe, not just to the British taxpayers, but to the Canadian taxpayers too, and provide the receipts, because frankly, your word counts for nothing. And you know, they made that ludicrous statement that they are no longer publicly funded. Harry has never worked. Meghan hasn't worked in the last 3 years, so who's paying for everything? I think they will find that we are actually paying for everything. And on top of that is the hypocrisy. They said that they wanted to live a private life, yet they're still talking to certain British publications. They're still releasing intimate details that they should not be releasing. Allegedly, they actually released to, I believe it was The Independent, that they done a Skype call to wish the Queen a happy birthday, and the palace had already revealed that they'd done that, but they wanted the details to be kept private, and then they just released everything. So what kind of hypocrisy is this? Their words doesn't stand for anything, clearly. They say one thing and do another. We want a private life, we want to settle in Canada. They move to Canada. Amidst the pandemic, they're suddenly in LA. Oh, we don't want to be papped, we don't want to be followed, we don't want to be harassed. Yet you're in the heart of Tinseltown, you're in the heart of being papped and chased and followed around and stalked. If ever anywhere invented paparazzi, it was LA, right? All media invasive intrusion, it was LA. That's where it all goes down. That's where people go to get famous. That's where people go to be seen. They're moving there with their young son. They've been moving all over the shop. Frogmore has been standing empty for how long? We paid for that. And they expect us to not be upset. They expect us to not be angry. They expect the press to not cover that. What kind of logic is that? It's illogical. Someone else wrote, you could spend your whole life trying to find a bigger narcissist than Meghan Markle and still fail. Someone else wrote, this is not going to end well for these two. If Harry thinks he can take on the British media, then more for him. And I think that that's quite a prominent, poignant comment. If Harry really thinks that he's going to get away with this, if Meghan really thinks that they're going to get away with this by only talking to certain publications that they consider good enough for them, that they consider highbrow for them, i.e. The Independent, the Telegraph, the Guardian, what I find really questionable about Meghan and Harry's concept of British PR and British relations is the fact that they act as though, impose themselves as people who want to help out the needy, want to help out the poor. The publications that they are conferring with, the people who they are allegedly trying to reach do not read those publications. So if they was to issue some kind of guidance or promote some kind of support program that they have going on in those publications, those people who they are talking about reaching, who they are pretending to care about, effectively would not find that information because they don't read those more highbrow publications, I would say. I think that the Daily Mail kind of walks a middle line, but the Sun is kind of for more working class people. I personally read it. I love it. I love the Daily Mail. I love the Mirror. So I don't see any problem with these publications. And I also read The Independent, sometimes read The Guardian. I just find it really quite hypocritical that they are taking on this stance of caring about the poor and needy, but the actual publications that the poor and needy would tend to more than likely read and more than likely find out about information and resources, they're not communicating with them. And let's be honest, you can't really control public perception about you. The public is always right, as they say when you go shopping. The customer's always right. I think that we've seen enough bad behaviour, shaking head, shake my head behaviour from Meghan and Harry, that look that they have going on, that bad look that they have is being self-induced. And there's not a lot they can really do to shake off this whole bratty, entitled, spoilt persona that they've got going on. And I think that they really don't like that. And I think that they thought that they could go to LA and leave us behind. But we're in a global economy right now, and we're in everyone is connected. So I'm an online user. You're an online user listening to this. I have friends, people who I do consider friends, who I haven't met online, who live in America, who live in Canada, live in all places all over the world. It's a global world now. Communication is global. You can have friends anywhere. You can meet anyone anywhere online. All you have to do is open your laptop and go. And I think they misjudged that. They thought in their mind, right, we're going to be 5,500 miles away. They're not going to really have much impact on what we're doing out here. But what they've realized is that it's now seeping through. Americans and Canadians and people from France and Germany and Italy and all over the world are reading the British publications when it comes to them, because let's face it, Harry was a prince. Harry is meant to be some kind of prince. He still holds the title. She is a duchess. Every time they use these titles, it irks me, because they're not doing anything to fulfill those roles. They should have those titles stripped. I just find them quite hilarious that they think that they're going to get away with this one of the biggest heists of in living memory. So yeah, guys, I'm going to end the video there. That is the British media's clapback to Meghan and Harry, and oh my god, did they deserve it. Okay, bye guys.